Whoa. Hello.
Whoa,
Ian,
beat
how you
down.
going? Guys, welcome back to Mat Chats, even though neither of us are on a mat, with Damien Brown and Ian Bone. How you going, man?
Coach talk with the dorks. That's what we got.
The ones that have done it. And,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, it's an interesting phenomenon, um, actually, because MMA has been like growing astronomically in the last 15, 20 years. So we kind of caught the wave at maybe just the right time. I mean, who wouldn't have liked to be on the wave earlier? But we caught it at a really good time, and it's an interesting space now where hope hopefully the club that you sign up to, whether that be a jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts club, actually is fairly rich and deep in experience now. Again, if you live in a small town, maybe not. They might have the same experiences um, that we had. Definitely, the bigger cities got deeper in experience earlier, but it's different now. It's different. The level has risen for sure.
look at me go. Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to fix my camera up here because I'm definitely looking like I'm shooting from the bottom up. All right. Yeah, I agree. We definitely got onto it at the right time. That's for sure. Um, it's funny during the week you put a great post up. I reshared it. I got feedback actually, and I think it's a super hot topic. You discussed a fair few things, peak performance, sort of your peak age bracket being 25 to 30. Um, you also discussed training times, hours, I guess, how hard it was, the sacrifice and everything. But because we were trying to keep it to 10, 15 minutes at a time, I think we should maybe hit, I guess, like your idea on the minimum amount of training it takes to be an amateur, a professional, and also the sacrifice that it takes. Because we have obviously both been through that, and some sacrifice more than others, but it's commonly known that you must give up things if you want other things. So why don't you just rehash that post from during the week and we'll just go from there.
Um, well, I suppose for me, it's about managing expectations. So when I do things like this, it's generally for my members and future members, and I'm always blown away that it can possibly sometimes go further than that. So I'm stoked that other people find value in it, and it's always fun to open up conversations with people like you as well. Um, my intention was just to get like mainly like level some of those expectations because some of the belief systems out there for what's required to be an amateur fighter for starters are crazy and silly, and there's a lot of bad advice out there. Like someone with a striking background will say, "Oh, you need to learn to strike before you do this jiu-jitsu stuff." Someone with a jiu-jitsu background will tell you that, "Oh, you better be in a blue belt in jiu-jitsu before you take your um, mixed martial arts bouts," and all this kind of nonsense. What you really need to do is find the expectations from your coach first, and they're gonna push you towards what they believe is best practice. So what I believe is best practice and what you believe is best practice are both slightly different. Um, we generally align with a lot of things, but some things we don't, and that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
as well. Um, so first you got to knock a few things on the head, like that included, but then like people are so different. Like I could say, yes, sweet, I can have someone ready in 12 months, but that person that I could get ready in 12 months is resilient. They've played some kind of contact sports before. They know how to rock up to 2 to 3 sessions a day, and they absolutely love it. And I don't have to convince them. They're not a wheelbarrow that I have to push to be motivated to do things. Now, other people who maybe are a little bit softer, haven't figured out their routine, yet, man, some of those people can take 5, 10. We all know the person that's trained 15 years and then they eventually switch on and go, oh, I want to have that MMA bout before it's too late.
Yeah.
So just people are so different. I think for anybody out there that's thinking about fighting and listening to this, first, yeah, by all means, listen to us. We'll probably have some good advice for you, but please, goddamn, go talk to your coach. You know, find out what his expectations are and realize it's your job to surrender to those expectations. He doesn't owe you a thing. You know, you're paying for his professional opinion. Take it, surrender it, do what you're told, or find another club, Lord forbid, that has lower expectations for you. If that's what it is that you require. I mean, you know, what are you thinking?
I agree with you. I think everyone does have different expectations. Some are very rigid in I guess what they expect, but also the minimal standard, so to speak. Some of it's very rigid, and that could be based on a number of things. That could be based on a timetable that they have at their gym. Maybe that's limited, so you don't have any choices. It could be based on, like for instance, with me, I have grappling and striking every night, but I set an hour limit and then particular sessions. So there's 3 sessions of the week they're not allowed to miss if they want to fight. So they have to hit 10 hours and they have to do those 3 sessions. And if they do those 3 sessions, they actually hit 3 of those hours. So I sort of I don't like to be super controlling, but also give them enough leeway that they can choose to do a morning class of jiu-jitsu and a night class of striking, so they don't have to be here 2 hours at night if they've got kids. So I really leave it up to them. And at the end of the day, it's like, for me, I didn't struggle to train. Like, I turned up to all the classes we had. There was only 5 hours of them. I did the rest in my own time. And so, I feel like if they really want it, I mean, it's not really our job to tell them. We tell them what we expect, but it's not our job to make them get there. So, I don't focus on having fighters. I don't. I mean, I have them. I have a lot of them now, but I don't focus on it. I don't want to turn everyone that walks into my gym into a fighter. So I just wait for them to come to me, and then when they come to me, I say, "This is what you need to do." If they don't do that, then they just don't fight. So I feel like yeah, I do agree with you that there's expectations, and that the first thing you should do if you go to a gym and you want to fight is that you go to your coach, tell your coach you want to fight, and then ask what you need to do to fight. Then you just go away and do it. Like, if you
Mm.
don't do it, you don't fight. It's kind of that simple. If you want a job, you got to put an application in, and then if they tell you you're not qualified, you go away and get those qualifications. So I feel like um, that's probably a really good step and some good advice for anyone that wants to start fighting, is to find out and meet the expectations of your coach, or, as you say, find a gym that has lower expectations but don't expect high results. Well, we've just lost him, so hopefully he'll come back, click back on. But again, guys, solid advice. Find a gym with people that have good high expectations and experience levels. Let's see if we can get him back. He's not back yet. And then from there, basically, meet the expectations. There's not really anything else to do. Um, and don't be in a rush. Too many people are in a rush in this sport. Let's try this again. Um, Ian also covered off on the peak age he believes is 25 to 30, which sounds crazy. You know, a lot of endurance athletes, sort of 30 to 35, a little bit older as well, sort of into their late 30s, really are at their peak. But I feel like for MMA in particular, we are looking at probably a lower age of peak performance based on the growth of the sport. So everyone would remember a Randy Couture being the oldest man to win the UFC heavyweight title in his 40s. And you know, it was awesome back in the day, but it's not so much now. And with the sport growing to a point now that we have youth MMA and kids MMA, and we got 4 and 5 year olds, particularly in my gym, doing MMA, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. I think just by the nature of the growth of the sport, that's going to put us in a position where we, the sport's going to have a younger peak age, so to speak. And then that's going to be heavily influenced also by weight classes. So the lower the weight class, the more impact on your body. And the higher the weight class, the less impact on your body.
Dude,
What's up?
I'm not kidding you.
I
My
just made
phone
a.
just got so hot
I think
that
that
it turned off.
that's Townsville. So what I actually thought might have happened is someone stole your Wi-Fi because you're in Townsville. But yeah. Townsville's good for stealing stuff, mainly
Dude,
cars. But I thought someone might have stole your internet. So anyway, you're back. I carried us. Ian. I moved straight on to the next topic. I thought this was the best part of your post the other day, was the peak age for performance in MMA, you believe is 25 to 30. I would tend to agree with you, although I think it's somewhere between 27 and 32 at the moment. And the reason why I think that is, as I just discussed to myself, that Randy Couture was obviously the oldest heavyweight champion, won the belt in his 40s, well into his, I think, 45 or maybe even 47 or something like that. And that's awesome at heavyweight. In a sport that was the fastest growing sport in the world but hadn't grown yet. And now that we've got growth and we've got 4 year olds doing MMA and jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, just by the, naturally by the growth of the sport, the peak age is going to come down. They
I
start
don't think.
earlier, they finish earlier. And I just think that, just due to the growth of the sport, you're probably on the money there. But I definitely say it's coming down. And anyone that's over 32 and typically fights under light heavyweight is probably only a couple of years off retirement.
Yeah, and often the statistics show us, unfortunately, that the younger guys often win those bouts. So yeah, it's interesting. And every time you make one of these posts, someone will jump on there and be like, "Oh, I'm 40 and I just had my first fight." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's great, man." But like what we're talking about is peak performance, and also it's important to understand the general statistics, because you should be coaching towards that, not coaching towards the outliers, just to give realistic expectations to everyone. Just like when you teach submissions, I want to teach the fundamental submissions that are statistically work across the board in gi, no gi, and ADCC and MMA. And if I do that, then I'm providing my members and students with a good subset of submissions across the board. So when I'm advising people to not waste time because it can take up to 10 years to get really good, then I'm hoping that I hit that 15, 16-year-old blue belt that's quit because he's better than all the other kids his age and thinks he's a mad dog, that actually now's the time, because I don't care what people are doing at between 5 and 15. You got to love it. but it's when that self-intrinsic motivation comes in. Like, do they really want to be doing it between 16 and 20? Do they really want to be doing it at 20 years old? To be a really, really great combat sports competitor, you really need to love it and want to do it and not be a wheelbarrow for your coach, which is my new name for anybody that needs to be pushed into these things. Because it's absolutely ridiculous for someone to come see me, and it happens all the time, even though I'm pretty big on preaching these things, that they want to fight before they even master like sparring, which means the reason you don't like sparring is because you can't solve the problems that happen at sparring. Like, you're not ready to fight yet. So if we go back again to what we're saying about, like, is someone ready? Well, there's a lot of things that are going to check that you can check if you're ready, if you're out there and a student or someone wanting to fight. Are you currently skillful enough to deal with all the basic strikes, and can you do them under pressure while you're sparring? Like, do you know how to sweep and catch a round kick? Do you know how to deal with leg kicks if someone's a good leg kicker? Do you know how to deal with head kicks? Do you know how to deal with front kicks? Are you good at parrying and slipping jabs? Can you roll a hook? Can you block a hook? Like, all these things. Can you escape side control? Have you got a half guard bottom game and top game? All these checklists that you can be making yourself before you ask your coach, are you ready to fight? Goddamn, write them down. Every position, every attack. And what are your defenses and counters for that when you have someone that's good at that particular thing? They're jabbing you in the nose or not. Coach, what do I do when Damien's jabbing me in the nose? And it's like, if you can't answer that yourself, you're definitely not ready to fight because you should kind of know what to do when Damien's jabbing you in the nose. That's, like, your corner can't immediately teach you how to parry, slip, and control the distance in the middle of a fight. That's not done. But skills aren't the only thing. Are you fit enough to deal with the stress of a fight? This isn't you doing a beep test to join the police force. You need an elite level of fitness to compete in mixed martial arts. Okay, so that means, um, probably level 9 to 12 for a VO2 test would be standard. Maybe at least 50 to 100 push ups for men, at least 20 to 30 to 50 push ups on your toes for women. If you're still doing push ups on your knees, girls, don't come and ask me to fight. you know, like, just simple things like that. Like, there's some fitness requirements that I could lay out to the table for people, because often when we have our inter-club or in-house fight nights, these people that want to fight are terribly under-conditioned. And that's not something that you should be laying as responsibility for your coach to do. I want to take care of skills and strategy, and I can definitely do strength and conditioning programs for you, but you need to hit the routine and fix that. And often when people fight and they gas out, I'm like, hey man, well, here's a fitness test for you. You pass this fitness test and I'll get you another fight. If you don't, not interested, see ya. I don't have to waste my time with that then, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, almost the whole time you were talking about that, I was thinking to myself that um, it's super common, because MMA is a sport, that people, and obviously we can appreciate this, people truly under um like that they're short on understanding that it's combat. So
Mm.
it's just, for most people that walk into the gym, they're like, oh, I want to do MMA. It's like such a cool sport. It's not a fucking sport. It is, but like, you're gonna get seriously hurt. Now I know, like, you can do that in rugby and whatever if you make a tackle wrong, but at the end of the day, if you're passing a footy around's one thing, you're kicking a soccer ball around's another thing. You know,
And your coaches don't have to be
that
involved in watching you hurt yourself either. Like, if you want to compete and not be ready and go home to your fam and not concerned about whether you go home to your family.
we we've lost Ian. We've lost him.
You
Are you
lost me?
there? Yeah, got
Yep.
ya. Yeah, if you're not worried about going home to your family, then that's definitely their choice. But like, I'm not going to be responsible for someone's brain injuries. So I set the standards, and they got to meet it. And I think every coach should have those same expectations and standards. And coaches have with those standards and expectations, some coaches will force it. That's cool because then they get it out of you. I prefer to not focus on fighters and focus on delivering martial arts as a whole to more people and a larger demographic. And out of that, I'll get a percentage of people who are committed to fighting and they'll meet the standards. And I'm happy with that. I like that. I like that idea because it uses less energy.
Well, not only that, to be honest, like if you really want to produce a good fight team, you also don't want to be begging for sparring partners for your fight team on the weekend. So there's a lot of great hobbyists out there that for 5 minutes are really, really good training partners for that elite competitive athlete. You know, they're quite skilled, they're quite dedicated, they're really, really good team players, but they just don't not interested in doing the extras. And that's
Yeah.
fine. They don't, you know, so, for example, every weekend, because we're so skill focused now and do so much Dutch kickboxing and similar stuff for our boxing class now, we took sparring on the weekend from 10 people to 25, 30 people every weekend, just becoming more skill focused and more trying to teach people to have good guards, high fight IQ. And, now no one really has to beg for sparring partners on the weekend. Could we always have more better competitive people? Absolutely. But I think if you really want your team to do well when they do compete, you need to have good bodies for them as well. So we can run really good fight simulators now. We got 5 BJJ black belts, a bunch of amateur kickboxers. So I don't even need to have a whole heap of MMA guys. I can run really, really good fight simulation training for those guys. So for anybody that is struggling with training partners, just like you should be able to put together some good fight simulations. Okay, that should be able to fill the gaps for you. Roll with punches with your jiu-jitsu guys, and then every now and then, kickbox a guy for a bit, and then start from the bottom with one of your jiu-jitsu guys and run fight simulations for things that you think might happen in your fight. If you're fighting a wrestler, you're going to have to fight from the bottom and defend takedowns. So in between training with that pro kickboxer, boom, 2 minutes in, you're thrown on with a wrestler on your legs. To me,
I love
sometimes
it.
that's even better than just having all the correct training partners, because now you're saying to yourself, hey, I don't need the rest of the world to provide for me. And you become kind of in control of your own destiny by almost running like a decentralized type training, because you have a mixture of boxers, wrestlers, grapplers in the gym, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But again, there's no point, and again, for me, that was born out of necessity, and I would have loved to have the amount of, well-skilled grapplers and strikers that we have at the gym now. But, out of, you know, 300-400 odd students, only 5-10% of them will ever fight.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's actually probably a pretty accurate number. And the other 95% are the reason why we get to do what we do. So you need all of them. But I think that was it's pretty good sort of chat point. So for anyone looking to fight, find a gym, hit up the coach, tell him your goals, ask them their expectations, make it your job, not theirs, to meet those expectations, and then revisit it in the time frame they give you. And I think that's pretty good. And peak performance, don't leave it too late to
And
develop those skills.
be
Give yourself
self-aware enough.
time.
Yeah, they've got to be self-aware enough to actually have a checklist of the skills. Like, can you escape mount? You know, at least a blue belt level mount. Can you escape at least a blue belt level mount? Can you escape side control, half guard? You know,
Yeah, I think also like based off like all those things you're saying, I think for people that are like, oh fuck, I'm not like a purple belt or anything yet. I think just to clarify, it's your job to get good in all those positions, but it's your coach's job to make sure your opponent is of the same level. So being able to escape half guard bottom and get on top because MMA, that's good, just means being able to get an underhook, come out the back, and come on top. Maybe having one escape that works for you against an opponent that has the same skill set, not necessarily an opponent that's a black belt, because then your coach is not really looking after you. Neither is your promoter. So I think as long as all things are equal, what you're saying is you need to have an escape that you can escape against a blue belt, or like a mount escape that you can escape against a white or blue belt, for example. So like you're 12 months in, you have your first fight, you're not going to be fighting a 15-fight Thai boxer who's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You're going to be fighting someone of equal skill set.
Yeah, but remember, for those guys that want to go to the UFC or want to be pro fighters, the trajectory is much faster than you think.
Oh yeah,
It's
100%.
it's probably much slower than you think from the beginning, but it's actually much faster. So getting there underprepared is, and like you're like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. Well, make sure you get there actually pretty good at it, because time and time again, I see people with like really, really good talent and like fairly good skills, just missing a couple of things, like the ability to like really sort out their cardio, the ability to really have a tight guard and be defensive, like just some real fundamental stuff, end up either failing or quitting because they don't want to be told that, oh, I don't care how much you don't like running, I don't care how much you don't like hill sprints. Your cardio needs to be better, you know?
Yep, got it. Great chat, man. Thanks for
All
that.
right, brother.
If we drag it on too long, I won't be able to download it. But I think it's good just to hit those points, and it's nice to know that I can carry the ship even when someone steals your internet and the Townsville Heat overcooks your phone. So thanks for joining
Well,
me.
thanks for carrying me.
No worries, man. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. We'll chat next week, and we'll
Awesome, brother.
find a hot topic in between that. Thanks, bro. Enjoy your weekend.
Can do.
See ya.